Interesting.
with blueberries and cinnamon,
Wow.
protein
I've
powder,
never done
and
that.
peanut butter. So before I was only having oatmeal, and then by like 10 a.m. I'd be hungry again. But my personal trainer guy I have now was saying
Put protein in it.
if you put protein in it, then you're not wanting a donut by like 10 a.m.
Yeah,
And it actually
makes you
works.
feel more full, I think.
Yeah, and it really works.
So
Basically.
sounds good. Cameras are rolling.
Nice. What do you want to talk about today, Jess V8s?
The market changing. I need to vent to somebody about it. I need to talk to somebody about it.
Talking to the right person. Ready, set, real estate. So what have you noticed about the market changing?
It's,
When did the market change? Was there like an immediate time where your market's really changed?
think because I went on maternity leave in like March, it was right before that I started noticing, because I had like one last listing before I went off that went like absolutely crazy with multiple offers.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of shifted after the interest rates changed and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And it just kind of happened. It seemed like overnight. Is that what it was kind of like for you, or?
Yeah, like for me, I had a listing out on 12th line, so past Norwood there. And what happened was, so I was off, and then I went back to work, and it was like early March, and then that listing only had, I listed the house. I actually went to Niagara with some friends, so I was off for 2 days. On the first 2 days it was listed, and I'm saying that because the second day I was there, I kept saying to my friends, I'm like, guys, something's wrong. Like, this isn't right. And they're like, what? Like, they don't care, right? And I called Century 21, and I was like, what is going on right now? Have you guys noticed that there's less showings and stuff? Because I didn't say that. I actually said, are you guys not sending me the notifications of the showings? Because I haven't been notified that there's any showings at all on the house. And we priced it under market value, held off, and we should be blowing up with interest. Had no showings by day 2. And they're like, no, the showing count's really, really down right now. And I'm like, oh, that's weird. Like, why is that? And then it all worked out for that listing. We ended up getting 6 showings, and it sold for over asking more than it's even worth.
But that was kind of the start of it.
But that's the first moment I was like, something is going on right now. Like, that's pretty significant. Possibly, I didn't really even know. I just thought that was weird.
Well, there was one point too when I asked someone here, I forget how many listings, like say there was like 100 listings, for example, or there's 100 agents or something. I forget. Out of all 100 agents listings, there was only like 5 showings or something for the whole brokerage for the day or something like that. I don't remember the number, but it was not what it was before, because in the winter, like 2021, we would have listings with like 80 to 100 showings.
Yeah.
And I would sit here with like 40 offers and go through them with the sellers.
Yeah.
And what's tough too, I think, have you noticed this, is like when you're talking to sellers now, they kind of want the prices from 2021.
February, yeah.
So if you're saying, your house is worth $650, they're like, well, my neighbor's house literally just sold for $850. You're like, yeah, but in December.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, that was a few months ago, or February or March or whatever. It's pretty unique. What happened?
Is. I know. So last fall, this was a record for me. I had a house for sale. It had 108 showings. So that's like 52 hours of people in the house, right?
Right.
And that would have been October. It was a house in Omimi. And we had 34 offers on it. Mm-hmm. Unreal, right? Like, I order pizza, sellers come, we go over everything. It's like such a fun experience.
Yeah.
And then it was a few more houses, then I went off, then I went back, and it was that house I was talking about. So I was just like basing that off of the fall, like you're saying, and it was so crazy, so heightened, so many showings, and all of a sudden there's like no showings at all. And I was like, what is going on right now? And then I listed about a house per week from then in March, and I was tracking like how many showings on each one. And yeah, it was, to get like 15 to 20 showings or more was really good. And if you had less than 5 in a span of 7 days on market, like over a week when you're holding off on offers. And I was like, it's really weird, so much less. And then my house, so I listed my own house early May, and I had my dad, who's an appraiser, give me an appraisal on it. I had some other realtors from the office here come and give their opinion of the value. And everyone was saying it was around $800,000. Listed my house like really low, going crazy with the what I call the slingshot effect, trying to get a ton of interest and get a ton of offers on it, whatnot, right? And I'm saying my house as an example because it was 2 months after I think the change started, and no one kind of really knew. In like April, May, people were like, it's slowing down, but like how much, right? And I only had two offers, and it sold for $100,000. Sold for $700 instead of $800. I thought I got $100,000 less than I should have. And it wasn't really that. It was just that the prices, the values went down so fast.
Well, that's the trouble too, because we would meet with somebody in like February or March, say your house is worth 800 or whatever,
Yeah.
and then they'd say, okay, we'll be ready in a couple weeks, and then a few months would go by. So we have people still that are still getting ready that we met with in like February. So we've had to keep them updated and telling them like that extra work you wanted to do, like painting the room or decluttering this room, is costing, like as the market declines, 20,000, 30,000, 100,000, like, you know. So that's tough too, having to deliver that information. There were a lot of people I had like in January, February, March that like say were friends or just people I really cared about that fortunately got the tail end of that crazy fake market is what I call it, because it was not real. It was inflated due to numerous factors, right? But I remember my one friends, they were moving, and one of them said, like the husband was saying, like, we need to get the house on the market now in like January. And then the wife was waiting to do stuff. I'm like, please list it now, because like,
because you just know, you know it's the best, and you know when it's changing.
And then it's like, you don't want the client to think that you're just saying that. Like, oh, of course the realtor's going to say that because they want to list my house. It's like, no, for real. Like, I want to help you. And so we ended up listing it in February, I think. It sold for a crazy amount.
Yeah, February was good.
It was like, I think one of the last listings I had that went like that with numerous offers. And that's when the offer count started to decline. Because when I met them, all my listings had like 20 to 40 offers. And then on their offer day, I'm like, oh, there's only 7? Well, only, but
you're used to like 30 offers, 20 offers.
When there was only 7 or 8, it was like, oh, that's kind of scary. That sounds weird to say. Like, obviously now that would be amazing. But at the time, 7 was not a super good amount. So I'm like, what's going on here? And that was right at the tail end of it. And good thing they sold their house for what they did, because I've seen houses on their street since then that are nicer or bigger, listed at a lower price, and they couldn't get those prices and they just expired now.
So how do you, like, if I'm a homeowner and I'm like, hey Jess, sell my house, I want like 820, and you're like, maybe like 760 at most. How do you explain to them, or like, how do you get them from that kind of market where they were right back in February, January, maybe March even too, to like kind of what it's all about today? Well,
just showing them all of the data, right? And the comparable sales. And usually they see it for themselves and they're like, yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
But sometimes they don't, right? Sometimes, understandably though, like if someone tried to tell you your house was worth 100,000 less,
you'd get defensive. You're like, whoa, whoa, whoa.
Well, you would feel like, this is a lot of money on the line. Yeah. Like, are we just going to go with this, what this person we just met said, this realtor? Yeah. So,
because I feel like, too, a lot of people think you might be saying that because we see how many showings, how many offers, and all like the metrics at real time, like week by week, and we get that information from the office and all that stuff. But a lot of people, too, when you say that your house is worth this number now and they thought it was worth this number, they might be thinking you're underpricing their house purposely to get like a quick sale or something.
Right, yeah, they don't sometimes understand that we're not trying to...
No, you're trying to get the most money for the house. That. It's just you got to actually get it sold, right?
Yeah, so and I've heard that be a common thing. Like, I'll be at an appointment where, you know, they'll say like, oh, the last person just wanted a quick sale, or, you know, we had my grandpa's house listed and this person wanted a quick... It's like, that's not what happened. It was priced right and it sold in a decent time frame because it was priced appropriately. I mean, obviously I don't know every single situation, but I can kind of judge when I look at the listing that is what happened. Yeah. So I think it's important too that they kind of understand the process and like our role, and don't think that we're trying to do anything weird because we're trying to help them. So
yeah, well, it's funny because it's like, why would a real estate agent ever want to sell the house for less than they could get? Like, wouldn't you always want to get?
It doesn't benefit anybody because the more money the house sells for, the more money your seller gets. They're going to be happier with you, and the more money you make. So I don't know.
It's like a win-win. Plus, it's also like your fiduciary duty, right? Like, you have to do it. But even if, let's say, you were like, screw the fiduciary duty or what's right and what's morally correct, I'm just going to do what's best for me to make money. It actually makes sense to do that when you're selling a house, right? So it is funny when people think you're trying to undersell a house or something. I would say, and you tell me what you think, if a house sells in under like 3 days, 4 days, then it probably could have got more.
Right now, you mean?
Yeah, right now for sure. But I mean, any market really with that kind of time frame, 3-4 days. Right now, if it's sold in under maybe 5 days. But just because what I'm saying is like, if a house is worth here and you price it lower, it'll sell quicker. Because instead of taking 5 people to come see the house to get an offer, it only took 2 people and you get an offer and boom, it sold really quick, right? So when you were like in a market where you could get multiple offers, it made sense to hold off if you were getting a lot of interest. So you can get multiple offers.
Because every house had a lot of interest, right? For the most part.
Especially if it's priced under value. So if you sold the house really quick, day 1 or day 2, and you're like, yay, realtor sold it in 1 or 2 days. It's like, yeah, it's good, but maybe you could have had more showings. Maybe you could have had more offers and you would have got more money for sure. Like
It wasn't really a thing to, I guess, brag about when you would have a listing that sold in a day or whatever when the market was like that. If anything, it was kind of like, why are you not holding offers in this market?
Yeah, exactly.
Why are you selling it in only a 1 day?
Yeah.
Right? So
that's what I always thought too.
that's how it is.
Yeah.
I mean, now you might want to say, you know, the average days on market is longer and I was able to sell mine in a day. Cool, I guess. But back then it was like, yeah, you probably should have held offers on for a week on that one.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't tell people that.
Yeah, I sold it in a day. Woo! It's good. I mean, it's good you sell it quick, but I don't sell it too quick, I guess, right? Is the point. You definitely don't want to be too long on the market, in my opinion. That's not good.
No.
That's when like people wonder what's wrong with the house and stuff. But there's the opposite side of it too, right? There's kind of a sweet spot, sort of, you know, depending on the market and stuff. So what do you notice like right now with showings and things?
A lot less showings. So I think out of 10 listings, there were 2 showings booked so far this week.
2 showings booked.
And that would normally be...
So you have 10 listings right now?
Well, between me and my teammate that's helping me,
Yeah. That's a lot of listings.
And that's the thing, too. If we weren't holding offers on all 10 of these listings in that previous market, they'd be gone the first day they were listed.
Yeah, I know. It's interesting how much, so back to kind of like how it's changed. Like
interest rates rising.
Yeah.
All the news articles and stuff scaring people and them not quite understanding what it means and the titles of the news articles. So I feel like people that don't understand it are reading the news article heading and they're like, that's terrifying.
Yeah.
And then people that do understand it are kind of like, they just don't really know. Like, should we wait? The interest rates are rising again. I think the prices are coming down. And then there's the group that are like, we're just buying or selling regardless because
we have to move or whatever, right?
Estate sales or whatever the situation is.
You can't really time the market.
Yeah, and they're just like, it is what it is.
Yeah, yeah. No, it makes sense.
But
I think personally, like for me, because we are actually thinking about getting an investment house, my first one, and I think right now is a good time to buy. And not as good of a time to sell as it was obviously in February and stuff like we're talking about. But in terms of why it's a good time to buy, well, I think it is just because prices are going down. They've gone down like 220,000 since February. That's nuts, right? Like it was 875 and now it's like 650 or something like that for last month in Peterborough. So that's average price. So it's like, if it's me, I would want to buy when prices low and sell when prices are high.
I personally would too. Like, I mean, obviously as long as the person can afford it, but I'd rather buy a $600,000 house with today's interest rates than a $900,000 or whatever. Yeah.
I would think.
So it just depends on everyone's situation because some people aren't able to put out that much or hold it for that long. So if you can, like I personally am okay, like would do it, but
it's true because most people that I help, and probably I'm guessing you too, aren't really investors like truly timing the market and stuff. It's like Jack and Joanne getting their, that's a weird name, sorry to anyone that's Jack and Joanne, but like getting their, for like a young first time buyer, I'm thinking, it's a bad example, but getting their first house, they're not usually timing the market. They're like, oh, I got my down payment now. I'm not just gonna like wait for 6 months and keep saving up more money, keep paying rent. I'm just gonna buy a house because I can, regardless of how the market is.
Yeah.
I feel like that's most people. Or they have a family and they fell in love with the house and they're like, we don't really have to sell, but we like really like this house. We want to buy it, and it's like they do probably care about how the market is a bit, especially in that situation where they don't have to sell. It's more like I'm really just in love with the next house. I'm not like selling due to a job move or financial situation or divorce or something like that. But how often do you come across people that actually try and time the market? I feel like that's like pretty rare.
Yeah, no, for sure.
As a true investor, I feel like that does that. And I know some people like that are
Or
my
people on
clients.
TikTok and stuff.
I need to get on TikTok. But like with the investors though, I know some that own multiple houses and they're even worried about getting a house right now. And I'm like, I get it, so it keeps going down, but like if you're gonna hold it for 7 to 10 years and it's gone down so much since February, buy low, like right now it's low, how much lower is it gonna go? I don't know, I don't think it's gonna go that much lower, especially because it's really caused by the interest rates going up, dropping demand. So eventually the interest rates will stay the same or come back down and everything will just come right back again, I would think.
Yeah.
So it's
Hard to say. No one knows for sure.
yeah,
I know some people think that they do, but
yeah.
no one really does know.
Yeah. Well, sweet. It's fun talking with you. Should we do it again?
For sure.
Like again and again and again? Let's do it again.
Let's do it.
Okay. Done deal.